It's finally happening. So this is my first ever YouTube video, and I'm really excited to actually be doing this and seeing what else I'll be doing in the future. And if you're here from TikTok, well, welcome. And yeah, I'm not really in my usual spot right now. I usually film in my library section over there, but you already know I have to try something new. I wanted to see if this angle kind of worked, and it kind of looks like it's working. So I don't know if I'm going to be using this angle, but this is a first YouTube video. So whatever happens, happens. So a while back, I did make a TikTok about the Molina Family Latino Gallery located in Washington, D.C., and just spoke about the upbringings of that museum gallery and the potential Latino museum that they're going to construct later on. So I had the honor of actually traveling to Washington, D.C. and seeing the museum myself. First of all, I'll just say that it was really exciting to see other Latinos there. And it really made me happy to also see that a lot of the information that I wanted to be presented at that place was there. The experience was so amazing. Enjoying the information, but enjoying that safe space for our history to be shown and displayed was just incredible. Although the space was small, again, on my TikTok, I explained that this is just a gallery. This is something that's going to initiate the construction of an eventual Latino Museum later down the line. And for its small size, it actually encompassed a lot of really accurate and really good information that has to do with the history of Latinos in the United States. Not only that, you can also see information and history from other Latinos and Afro-Latinos from across Latin America, from across other regions as well. It was just really amazing to indulge in that kind of history. There were things I already knew, and there were also other things that I learned. Even in the things that I did know about Latino history in the United States, just the manner in which it was just displayed right in front of me and for everyone else. That for me really just was amazing, because this is something that I said in my TikTok video, that this was something that's long overdue. Having our history, the history of Latinos in the US and elsewhere, to be known, to be out there, for people just to see, appreciate, and to learn about. The Molina Family Latino Gallery did an excellent job at making sure that there was historical content from different kinds of groups that encompass Latinos, such as Afro-Latinos, Latinos in the LGBTQ plus community, Latina women, indigenous folks. So it really encompassed a lot of that inclusivity, which I really enjoyed. And so today I just thought that I wanted to give my own thoughts, my reviews on my own journey to Washington and to this gallery, and then hopefully by the end of the video give my own thoughts and reviews again on what the future of this museum will hold, such as what I would like to see and the kinds of impacts that this museum will have, not only for the Latino community, but also for the overall American and world community as well. So how I'm going to be doing this is that I'm going to be looking at clips that I took myself of the gallery and pretty much giving a commentary of what was going on in my head. And then what I will not do is provide every single detail of the gallery itself. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I really want people who are truly passionate, interested, or actually just want to go for themselves and go visit, to do that and enjoy the experience, enjoy the time being there, just looking at everything that's on display, looking at the information that's available to all the viewers there, and to pretty much become immersed and part of that experience themselves, like a journey. So without further ado, let's hop into the video. The way that the gallery is set up is based on historical time periods, but also the people that were part of that historical time period. And if not people, they had major ideas or movements that took place in Latino American history. So one of the first things that you are exposed to are pretty much labor movements and people who are currently making history now. And so one of the things that I saw was Sonia Sotomayor there, but you also see different kinds of other labor activists that were very prominent in Latino American history. One of the things that I enjoyed was seeing that there were labor activists in our community, because this is something that when we talk about labor unions or labor activists, it really isn't in the realm of the Latino community. And one of the first things that you see is how these Latinos who are labor activists, but also activists in their respective line of works, are making impacts and have made impacts in the past and now. Along the lines of that labor activism that was on display in the gallery, One of the other things that really surprised me was the inclusion of Larry Itliong, who was a Filipino farm worker during the United Farm Workers movement. And Larry Itliong worked alongside Dolores Huerta to promote Filipino and Mexican unity. That for me was a plus on its own, because when we learn about the United Farm Workers movement, all we learn about is Cesar Chavez. But if you don't know, Cesar Chavez was a racist. He didn't really like working with the Filipinos, and he really didn't even like Mexicans either. So having him to be the face of that movement, in my opinion, is completely incorrect. I believe that the inclusion of Larry Itliong alongside Dolores Huerta, oh, that was so amazing to see. And so I have a video clip of me just showing that, because to me it's really important to have these silenced voices up on display. The other thing about history is that inclusion is such a big issue. And when it comes to the era of Jim Crow, there were a lot of Latinos who fought for the rights of Black Americans here in the US. They were part of the civil rights movement, but they were also part of larger student movements during the 1960s. So having that inclusion there as well was really amazing. So after you explore all that, you'll be exposed to the Tree of Life, which is a display that they actually constructed by hand. And if you actually go to the Smithsonian's website and look up the Molina Family Latino Gallery, you'll see how individuals shape the Tree of Life. Shout out to ceramic artist Veronica Castillo, who is actually the one who made this piece come to life. It's actually one of my favorite pieces at the gallery, so I really appreciate that. And so yeah, I really took a while filming this, because it was such a beautiful but also sophisticated kind of sculpture. And I didn't know at first that it was ceramic until I actually read it online, and let me tell you, it is super complex when you look at it. Sometimes you don't even know what to look at first, but I think that's the point. Then the next part of the gallery itself is immigration. So you'll see lots of displays of individuals from other parts of Latin America, the Caribbean area, South America, Central America, who have migrated to the United States and have created businesses, have created a life for themselves. Not only that, you'll also see the hardships of going and coming to America. And so on this next video, I actually just show a video of all that. So they actually have lots of pieces that were donated to the gallery itself of individuals who have migrated to the United States. And part of this exhibit too was a backpack and a pair of shoes, which reminded me of The Land of Open Graves by Jason De Leon. And if you haven't read that book, go ahead and read that book. So Jason De Leon actually visited my college, so I had a chance to speak to him and to actually see his exhibit of all the tags of immigrants who have traveled through the desert. That exhibit was really emotional to see, because while I may have never actually gone through the desert or actually migrated to the United States, the hardships of people coming here just to have a dream and to make a life for themselves here is obviously very difficult. And after reading The Land of Open Graves, you definitely get a different perspective on things in life. As you can see, we're in a new day, and that's because last night while I was recording this, there was a big thunderstorm which completely cut the power off in my neighborhood, so I couldn't continue doing the video. But now that it's another day, let's continue. So after looking through the artifacts of immigration, you're actually going to now hear the stories of many immigrants. And in this video here, you actually see that there is a piece of a boat that was used by some migrants coming here to the United States, because walking through the desert isn't the only way. It's also by sea, and by this image itself and by the stories that you'll hear from individuals, traveling and coming to the United States is not easy. But behind that though is really another piece of technology that was used at the gallery, and that was in the form of a video monitor. So I captured the monitor via this video, and it basically gives you a lot of the history behind Latin American immigration. And then in this next video, you will see me holding up one of the pieces that you put into your ear to hear the monitor, which was, like I said, it was an amazing piece of technology. Right next to the exhibit of the boat piece is a poster board that has a title called Latino, Hispanic, Latinx, Why the Different Labels. And I believe, for me personally, that was a really good explanation as to the origins, but also the history behind those terms. And of course, you can't have an exhibit like that without the video monitor, which was there and available to the individual that was interested in that. So moving on from that narrative of immigration, you get into the narrative of westward expansion here in the United States. But not westward expansion from the perspective of the white American. You're getting the perspective from the Latino. In these next few parts, you'll see how manifest destiny, which was the ideology that white Americans used to justify their land holdings and usurpation of land from indigenous and Latinos, affected those individuals personally. So here you'll see the significance of Latino impact in the United States and elsewhere. And then that's where you get into that whole message of manifest destiny itself, and how manifest destiny not only affected individuals here in the United States, but it really affected Latin Americans significantly. And then they also had a poster board saying invading Mexico, which was referencing the 1848 Mexican-American War. And then right behind it, I really enjoyed looking at this, was the Pedro Albizu Campos exhibit, which, for those who don't know who he is, Campos was a Puerto Rican revolutionary, and having a display for him and what he has done for Puerto Rico was really, really nice. Manifest Destiny affected individuals in Latin America and the United States via war and via mass killings of individuals who are always silenced in the historical narrative. The other part of westward and war expansion in the United States was news and media. And so one of the exhibits had one of the largest printing presses that I've ever seen in my life, and basically the impact of news that spread around during that time era as well. So moving on, as you move towards the end of the gallery, you'll find that there is a section on Afro-Latino history. In this gallery alone, you'll be able to see how Afro-Latinos have impacted the history of Latin America and its trajectory up until now. Afro-Latinidad is a concept of Latin American society and also history that is seldom put out there as much and is really much silent in the historical narrative. Having an exhibit in a section like this is significant because Afro-Latinos make Latin America and have made history in the region as well. And then right behind that, you have a monitor that specifically talks about the impact that Afro-Latinos had in colonial times, in the independence eras, after the independence eras, during the 1900s. And you'll also see the history of indigenous peoples as well. I took a college course in college called Native North America, which was an archaeology course. And in this video here, you'll see one of the people that I did research on, which was Popeye. 1680 was a time of the Pueblo Revolt. I did research on the impact that Popeye, which was the indigenous leader at that time, had on that revolution. So being able to see that again on a video monitor, but also in the gallery itself, was pretty amazing. And then last but not least, you'll have just a section on indigenous peoples of America. And here is just a picture that I took of an indigenous garment. That garment that sits right in front of a video that shows indigenous peoples celebrating and dancing. I think the gallery did an amazing job at addressing historical moments in Latinos in the United States, but also Latinos in Latin America. For anybody interested in getting into Latin American history here in the United States and in the region itself, going to this gallery would be a first good step. Now, here are 4 things that I would like to see in the final construction of the Latino Museum. 1, more revolutions and more revolutionaries. I believe that the stories of revolutionaries and revolutions is a core fundamental of Latin American history in the region and here in the United States. By including more stories about those revolutionaries and those revolutions, you can also see how that intersects with a lot of movements here that are happening currently in the United States. My number 2 thing would be adding more Afro-Latino narratives. Like I said previously, Afro-Latinos make up a bulk of Latin American history. Their significance and their impact in the trajectory of nations and personhood identities are very significant in the region and in the United States as well. My number 3 thing would be more stories about indigenous peoples. And this could be by including indigenous leaders, indigenous movements that have happened in the United States, but also talking about the atrocities that have happened towards indigenous peoples in the United States and in Latin America. And when you specifically talk about Latin America, we have to talk about how both U.S. foreign policy and intervention in Latin America, but also Latin American leaders themselves have committed atrocities against indigenous peoples. One example that I can think of at the top of my head is the Guatemalan Civil War, where indigenous peoples became targeted, but also leaders themselves in movements in Guatemala. And this has happened across a lot of countries in Latin America. And then the final thing would be the inclusion of more women. This could be also highlighting women who have made significant strides in the feminist movements, in addressing domestic violence, gendered violence, femicides, femininicides, and having those definitions forward and making sure that people understand that this is a fight that has been going on in Latin America for a very long time. And with the recent overturning of Roe v. Wade, we are starting to see how Latin American women are taking center stage for movements here in the United States. So those are all things that I would like to see included in the final product of the museum. And if there are any more that you can think of, please put them down in the comments down below, because I would love to read them. That was pretty much everything that I wanted to show you today. It was just a commentary of my thoughts of the gallery and some videos with explanations behind them. So this is my first ever YouTube channel video, which hopefully will launch a plethora of other good videos that I will be putting forward soon. So if you're interested in the lifestyle of a historian, or just love history, or if you really love history, you love Latin American history, please, this is the community for you, and this is going to definitely be a YouTube channel that you would like to see continue to grow in the future. So if you want, go ahead, subscribe, hit the like button. All the support really means a lot to me. See you in the next video.